Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to put new rotors on the front and rear on this Ford Expedition. It's a 2012 model. It's the EL, which is the extra long model. Put new brakes on it here a while back. Didn't do a video on that because I knew I was going to be doing this video. Couldn't get the rotors at the place that I was at, so I ordered rotors. They finally came in. We're going to try to tackle this job, getting this thing ready to go to the shop tomorrow to do an alignment. I don't do those things because it's money well spent to let a shop do it. Get an alignment on the front and rear on this thing, but without further ado, let's get to it. Stick with it. So on this particular model of Ford Expedition, it takes a 21mm socket to get these off. Now let me tell you something. The reason I point this out about using a 21mm on this particular set of lug nuts is if you use a 13/16 or just something that fits on there pretty decent and you try to use an impact, you're going to ruin the lug nuts and it becomes a problem. I actually had to buy brand new lug nuts all the way around on this particular vehicle simply for that reason. It looked like someone used the wrong thing when they put my tires on. Well, that's a different story, so we're not going to talk about that right now. But anyway, 21mm to fit these. We'll take them off and get this tire off and see how hot this rotor is. Probably going to be pretty warm, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I moved you down here so I can try to give you a better look at the way this is set up here on this particular vehicle. I do recommend putting jack stands up. I don't have mine up right now. Let's pretend like I do. I want to point out, support your vehicle with proper jack stands, and I'm hoping to give you a good view here of exactly what it is that we're doing. These rotors are pretty worn, and I do a lot of long-term traveling and things, so I want to try to make sure that I'm protecting my interest as much as possible and making this thing safe. Like I said, I did put new brakes on here. Could not find the rotors in the town that I was in when I did the brake job, so I opted to wait till I got home and order new rotors all the way around for this vehicle. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, takes a 7mm Allen on a 3/8 drive ratchet. That's what it's going to take to get your brake calipers off. You'll have one on the top and one on the bottom on the back. When you loosen those off, it's pretty easy to get these brakes off. I will show you how to do that in just a minute. Alright, so after a really quick wardrobe change, before I get filthy messing with this thing, just want to point out a couple things here when you're doing this job. These EL Expeditions are extremely heavy, and because they're extended in longer vehicles than your normal vehicle, they're a little odd when you're jacking them up. Be careful. I mean, really pay attention to it. I'm using a floor jack here on this. If you use the factory jack, it will work. I have used it on this vehicle and it works actually very well. But you want to make sure it's got a good footing before you start really yanking on that thing to try to get it up there. So I'm going to try to get you guys good video footage of exactly what I'm doing here as I go. I hope I get to do that for you. So if you don't mind, take the moment here, hit like on the video, hit subscribe on the channel. I got a lot of great content that's coming up. I'm going to try to get to very, very soon. And your support means everything to me. I really actually appreciate it. I enjoy doing these videos. I enjoy interacting with you in the comments section. And I want to try to grow the channel into something, fun for everybody. I hope it's entertaining for you, and I hope maybe that you get to see how I do things, and maybe it gives you some inspiration on what you're doing. So stick around. We're going to get this brake caliper off and then get this rotor off, put the new one on. All right, guys, I'm going to kind of swoop you in here so you can get your orientation of exactly what's going on here. The back of the vehicle. This is the passenger side. I'm going to try to ease you in here where you can see exactly what I'm doing here. Like I said before, this is a 7mm Allen head 3/8 drive. And you have 2 bolts on here. Make sure you have your ratchet on loosened. And we'll take them bad boys off. Just like that. These dowel pins are, you know, I'd say it's a pretty unique design. I kind of like it. When hopefully you're able to even see what I'm doing. It's a pretty ingenious and easy way to do it. I give Ford credit on this. I like it. I like how they've done the calipers on these. So we just loosened this pin up. It's kind of stubborn. It's a lot longer winded than you think it might be. So be patient with it. Kind of pull out against it, and it will come loose. You have another one on the bottom, and it's really not too much further on the bottom. It's, maybe you can see it there, right here. I'm going to set your ratchet to stun. Like that. All right, come off of there. Now I have both these pins completely loose. Now, this might be a little tougher than normal. If you have worn brakes, it might not be as hard as what this is going to be, simply because these are brand new brakes. There's not as much room here on the caliper, so I'm going to try to use trusty old little pry bar here. See if I can't just get enough to pry against here. Your inside brake has a bubble on the top of it. I'll try to show it to you in a minute. And prying against it a little bit can help, but it's not perfect, guys. So I'm trying to just gently get myself some room. I don't want to pry against the actual brake pad itself. Might be enough here to get it to loosen up. Not sure yet. Yeah, this is going to be the hard part for me in particular, because, like I said, these pads are brand new, so there's not a lot of room. There we go. You don't want to let that caliper swing down. You really should hang it up here if you can. I think I have enough room to leave mine in there just like that, and it be out of the way. Alright, so I had to turn the video off for a minute because I didn't want to show you doing something that might not work. This rotor was stuck on pretty badly. I tried to do it with a rubber mallet to get this thing off, but it just wasn't working. I had to resort to the big boy here, and I can't say I recommend it, but scotched all wheels to keep it from rolling. I do have jack stands in place, still have the jack underneath it, and what I did was I put the vehicle in neutral so I could spin the rotor all the way around while tapping on this, and it's the only way I got anything done with it. And it finally freed up. So anyway, don't recommend that at all, but that's what I did to get it loose. So that's what it looks like. I'm not really too much worried about these emergency brake. It looks pretty decent. Not changing those. Like I said, the the main objective here is just to get the new rotor on here. So I'm going to go see if I can find my smaller wire brush, try to get in here and clean around this area a little bit more and find my anti-seize. So you can see here, I've got my little wire brush, and I'm just going to try to clean up around the edges here where the new rotor is going to set. You want to be careful not to damage your studs here when you're doing this, because you can. You'll mess up a thread and then be dealing with that. So anyway, we're just going to work on this and try to get it good and clean, and I'm going to try to put some anti-seize of some kind around here if I can find my anti-seize, and that should help take care of this in the future. I'm going to try to slip this bad boy on. Like so. Tap it a little bit here. And that looks pretty good. So now that we've got this back on, and I do believe we have it all the way, I've already cleaned this with brake cleaner. We are going to try to put it all back together now. In case you didn't know, I'll go ahead and show you here. This is the one that goes to the outside. The one that goes to the inside, you can see that has a little bump right here. Try to point that out. Doing a brake job on this truck is actually very, very easy. You know, very easy. So anyway, but we do have to compress this brake pad, because it's not going to fit on that new rotor unless we do. And more than likely, I'm going to have to take this off and get my trusty wore out sequence. And ease it down on here. It doesn't take a whole lot of pressure actually to depress this calipers, so you're really not using a whole lot of force to do so. And you're probably not seeing any of this, but I'm just depressing the caliper like you would in any other situation when you're changing your brakes. And really shouldn't do it on the face of your brake like I just did on this one, but I think it's alright. Yeah, it's gonna be fine. I'm gonna put a little grease on these pins, and we'll get this thing put back together here. I don't know how much of it you're really getting able to see here. Alright, just like that. Make sure. I'll show you that in a minute as well. When you're putting these brakes back on, you have to make sure that this lip is coming on this side of this. So you're going to kind of go in at an angle. Give you a good look there. Make sure this part is on this side of this. Make sure your brake pad is on that side. Alright. Okay, so we greased up the pins, the slide pins. I didn't have the, apologize, I did not have my camera going at that time. Greased up the pins. We have them back in place here. I'm going to start tightening them down. And moving on here to the next step, which will be pretty much putting everything back together. And sometimes getting these pins lined back up is actually a pretty good chore. And so you just have to work with it. And if you have too much trouble getting it to line back up, you might want to recheck and make sure your brakes and pads and everything are in the proper position while you're doing it. Come on, go in there. I think I might have that one started. You don't want to twist it all in. You go to your bottom one, try to get it lined up as well. Like so. Better ratchet here to work with than the other one. And you do this for a few minutes and you realize, hey, it's not lined up, then you have to just wiggle it around. It's not... rocket science, but it's sometimes not the easy. Take the rubber mallet, tap around a little bit. There we go. That started. It's going now. I really wish I could set this camera somewhere where you could get a perfect view of everything that's going on. I hope you guys can see that there. I'm just going to snug these because I'm going to come back with my torque wrench in just a minute and set them at the proper torque. Just snug them. I'm going to do that. Let me grab my torque wrench. Okay, now I've got my sliders already kind of snugged up here on the back. I used to not do this, but as the older I get, the more I really truly realize how you can over torque something and under torque something pretty easily. So I've decided to start using a torque wrench. And you check your own specifications for everything you do. Don't go by what my specs are. My specs call for 28 foot-pounds or pound-foot of torque for these sliders. I've got my digital torque wrench here. There it is. Didn't have my torque wrench on, so that one might actually be over torqued. One thing I like about this torque wrench, it shows you after you do it what your torque value is. Those are torqued properly at 28 pound-foot or foot-pound, however you want to say it. And we're ready to put the tire back on. And then we get to torque the lug nuts to 150 foot-pounds or pound-foot. And believe it or not, that's quite a lot of torque. So yeah, get the wheel back on here and give her a shot. Straying around on these tires really sucks, but it could always be worse. I always try to tell myself that it could always be worse. This could be an 18-wheeler. Thank God it's not. Now we did put some anti-seize on the studs, so like I said, I've learned a few things here when it comes to doing this stuff. One of the things I've learned is an impact, if it's not just right, you mess up these lug nuts. Don't want to do that. So even with the proper size, I'm going to tighten them down like I just did. I'm not going to over torque. I'm going to lower this to the ground, and I'm going to finish off with the torque wrench and get it to the proper 150 foot-pound feet, whatever you want to call it. I lowered the truck down got the wheel to where it's on the ground where it won't spin as easy, but it's not all the way to the vehicle on it yet. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish the sequence of trying to get these things torqued down. They're not easy to do either. Okay, YouTube, we got the tires, the rotors put back on, brakes put back on. Everything is like it's supposed to be. Everything's been torqued to factory spec. We're going to take this bad boy for a ride and see how she acts. All right, just fired the truck up. When you do some kind of job like this, you're changing the brakes, changing your rotors, whatever. Anytime that you have to depress your calipers down, you have to hit your brakes a few times after you get back in your vehicle to get them back. If you just crank up and throw her in gear and take off, you might not have any brakes. You want to be careful about that. You know, follow your factory specifications, warnings, examples. You know, I'm a redneck engineer, which means I don't know half of what I'm talking about. I just do things, show you guys how I do it. That's it. But we're going to take this thing around the loop and see how she acts. So far, so good. All right, here we go. Okay, got the seatbelt locked down. Driving. I don't know what I just ran over, but yeah, it'll be fine. It was just a block of wood. Yeah, it's fine. Notice well, you might not be able to notice, but I'm gently applying the brake as I go here in my driveway to make sure I have brakes, make sure there's nothing stupid going on. When I'm doing a test drive like this too, I'll make sure my radio's off. It's extremely hot, so I'm gonna leave the air conditioner on right now. But typically I would turn the air conditioner off, turn the radio off, get really quiet and drive. Don't go fast, just, you know, just take an easy drive here. And make sure you don't hear any noises or anything or feel anything, vibrations that are out of the ordinary. And you know, it's just a good policy to have, to check on your equipment. So I'm going to pull out my driveway here. We're going to ease down the road and make sure that we have brakes. You know, I'm going to do the front rotors as well, but even if I had those front rotors here right now, I would be doing exactly what I'm doing. I would have changed the back ones and then I would drive it. That way it's easier to determine if there's something that does happen to pop up. I know that probably not the front because I haven't touched the front. It's just the back right now. If you were to do all four at one time and were to have a noise or something like that, you would be looking at all four wheels rather than just two. So that's why I would do it in that way. And you know, it just gives me an opportunity to make sure and double check my work before I move on to the other two tires and or the other two rotors. Just a good policy to have. Everything seems to be fine. I don't hear any weird noises. The brakes are working fine. Good stopping power. No vibration. No weirdness. Everything is exactly like it should be. Guys, if you don't mind, like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help. And I'm trying to get to my goal. I'd like to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. I think that it's doable. And you know, I'm not looking for 1 million subscribers. That would be great, but I'd just like to get the channel out there to where, you know, maybe some people can get some valuable information or learn what not to do. I'm good at teaching that as well. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you on the next adventure. Peace. Next on Fuel Tilt, we'll show you how to get a hernia. Oh.